Wow. She did open the room, so people are getting in right away.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny how when you're the only person or one of two people on, the pictures are so much bigger, and then
Yep.
everybody else is done, and you shrink and shrink and shrink.
That's because you have it on tile mode.
Yeah.
Instead of speaker mode, because if you have it on speaker mode, it switches to.
Then you only see the main person. Yeah. That's how the most of the presentations will be on speaker mode, but yeah, for these. I'm
I was
not,
there
I don't
last year.
run Zoom at all. I only participate, but I've never been, involved in actually running a Zoom session. So
Me either. I was here last year, but just as a participant.
yeah.
Wow, people got in fast.
Yes, we were faster than you, Terry.
There, yeah. Well, I had to go, I was signed into the wrong account on the other Zoom, and this was the one for me to start, so I had to go sign into my right account, so.
So you guys got the links prepared all ahead of time, and they worked even though you didn't have to manually start it. You just set it up so that it would be open. And
yep, that's one of the reasons why in Discord all of the little individual rooms are locked until it's time for us to let something go, so that people aren't trying to get into the weird rooms when they're not technically open. So yeah, we went through and set that all up ahead of time. So fun stuff. And yeah, I have like 3 Zoom accounts, so I seem to perpetually be logged into the wrong one whenever I need to get logged in. It drives me crazy. I'm like, so, this is gonna, oh yeah. Usually I can tell whenever I've logged into the wrong one because of like my backgrounds will be gone. I'm like, oh, I must be on the work one.
they're going to get their names changed again when they come in here.
Oh, there's Rob. I guess you're Lanier, right?
Yes, I'm Lanier. Thank you. Not Rob. If you could tell me how to permanently fix it, I would fix it.
It's one of the settings things about whoever when you log in. Let me see, where is that?
I had to use it to get into a wedding. I wasn't invited to it. It was my granddaughter's wedding.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So let's see.
COVID days.
Do you know how to get to the settings for your Zoom?
While I'm in the
I'll be right
meeting?
back.
Yeah, you can still do it while you're in it.
I can get into participants and more.
Oh no, you have to go to the, hang on, I'm trying to see where it is normally. I know, like on mine, whenever I open up my account and I log in, I get a screen that says, okay, let me see. Like if I want to change my background, for example, oops.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I say
video.
choose virtual background, that gives me a pop-up, and it's all labeled settings. And one of the things on the left, a couple down from backgrounds and filters, is profile, and that's where your name is.
Are you using the web-based Zoom, or are you using like an app-based Zoom?
I'm using an app.
Okay. And then what she was saying, that's how you do it. The web base it's on the very top.
Okay, thanks.
On the top, where?
Well, it's like your browser where you have, well, I have a Mac, so it's on the top, on the left side.
Yeah, I can get to it both ways. Because also Mac.
Okay.
Huh, I'm looking at Charmaine's picture.
Can't see a name.
Huh?
Is that Charm? Yeah, it
It
is.
says, yeah, it says
Oh.
Charmaine is connecting to audio. I don't know what it is. It's like a little Japanese figure with the origami.
Yeah,
the
yeah. It's
origami
probably
print.
some of her origami cranes, her 1,000 cranes that she made.
Yeah.
There we
Oh,
go.
how beautiful.
My sister-in-law did that for both of her boys' weddings
Yeah.
because she's Japanese American, and so that had a family meaning.
Okay, so at one point, this blue was like completely blue with no white. Now it's got white. I don't know what I did wrong.
What are you talking about? It's always had a white frame around
That
it.
one? Oh, okay, maybe I
Yeah,
just.
this one always had the white frame around it. I was gonna fix it, but I never did.
I like the blue. Okay. It goes with my shoe.
It does. I'm just wearing a t-shirt dress.
Oh, I have on my Doctor Who shirt today. So let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I like this one because I call it my stealth fan shirt because I can wear this one to work.
Sure, nobody will know.
It has a collar on it and everything. It looks all dressy, so I wear it to work.
Yep.
I also have a Star Wars shirt that I can wear to work,
Mm.
and a couple other fans. Like I said, I call them stealth fan shirts because I can wear them to work.
There, now you can see
Sure.
now you can see
Oh,
this
there's your
really
mug.
well,
Tell them
Yeah.
to throw what's it. I love it.
or
I
whatever.
actually got my gravity changing now shirt on, but you can't see it because I'm too close to the camera. So
Yeah, stand up a little.
Yeah, stand up.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see that.
I'll back up a little bit and stand up.
Mm-mm.
Oh yeah, we can see that.
You wore that to
Oh, nice.
the Renaissance Fair.
I did. I wore it to the Renaissance Fair when we met that time.
Yeah, I have the picture. I have the picture to prove it.
Oh.
I'm drinking my tea out of last year's mug today. Tomorrow I'll drink out of this year's mug. So this is
I didn't get this year's mug. I have too many mugs.
this is the giant one. So
Yeah,
it's,
mine are giant. I have 3 giant ones, and then I bought 2 of these. These
Yeah.
are the
regular
smaller.
size
They're
ones,
still
yeah.
nice size. They're not small,
so
but they're not quite as big. They like hold 14 ounces, I think.
this
Yeah.
year's mug, I got it on the bone china one. So it's a little bit smaller than what you've got. And it's
Oh, yeah?
like a 12-ounce mug. So I'm like, okay, I have enough big giant mugs. I'm gonna go back to buying some smaller ones so they can fit in the cabinet.
I don't know what to do.
Plus,
I mean, I have a
to
lot
do
of
that
cupboard
whole-
space, but
If I buy a new mug, then one of the other ones has to go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, I've got 4 of the big mugs now.
uh-oh, I'm in battery saver mode. I gotta go get my plug in.
No,
no.
Run. That happened to me last time. My laptop died right in the middle of one of the Zoom presentations.
Oh, no.
So I had to run and get my plug and get it started up again.
My computer decided to do something weird in between sessions.
That's not polite of it.
No, it's not. I mean, I was going to get the link through my, through my Word document, then it's telling me I have to sign on. I went, huh?
Okay, let's see if I can get this to stretch.
Just an inch too short.
Well, I may have to just go sit somewhere, which I don't want to do. Maybe I can just do it this way. Yeah, I can do it that way. That works. There.
Hey, kitty.
Aw.
Oh, this is my little black cat.
And what's its name?
Okay, so it's a Pokemon named Poiple. So think like the color purple with a New York accent.
Okay.
Playful.
And it's the most vocal cat I've ever
Yeah.
owned. It never stops talking.
Hi, Purple.
Like we can't have meetings in the evening because the cat has like a witching hour, like a toddler. Like people think we're hurting our cat and it just talks all the time. Awful.
Sometimes
It's hoping that one day you understand it, you know?
Sometimes when I get ready to go to bed, India here will decide that it is time to talk. And then she runs around the house going, meow, meow, meow. And she runs in another room and grabs a toy. Just flies like a bat out of hell back into the bedroom to bring me the toy. No.
That would be nice. This cat cries. Like, oh, like just cry. If it's awful, like you think you're doing something wrong or hurting it. And I'm pretty sure most of the time it's like, can I have a treat? Like,
Yeah. Can I have a treat? So I don't see any new people. I see everybody, just people who were here before.
People
Which
from the previous one, yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
I came back because I missed the very first part. And thank you for all those that helped me register after the registration was closed.
Well, actually, it wasn't supposed to be closed yet.
Oh,
Something happened, yeah. So I was good that you sent an email and didn't just not say anything, because then we were able to fix that and get it back open.
I thought this was actually supposed to be like live, like Comic-Con. But it's
Yeah,
not,
no.
it's Zoom this year. When
Well, it
Zoom
is,
last
it
year?
will be live, but it won't, it will be live, real
Right,
time,
right. Yeah.
but not in person.
Zoom live, but not in person live.
Yeah.
Christine, where are you coming from?
Texas.
Texas.
What part?
Where in Texas?
North Texas and Fort Worth.
Oh,
I'm in
yeah.
Austin area.
Two Texans.
Oh. It's been raining here quite a bit.
Yes,
There's a cat eating.
I'm in Houston. We've had rain too.
We have 3 Texans on.
Wow.
Bunch of
You could
readers.
send some of that rain my way. It's horrendously dry here and has been for a couple of years now.
Yeah, it has. We were actually starting a drought. We were about 5 inches behind. But today it did rain. I don't know how much we got, probably a 1/4 inch. But at least
Got,
it's
I
something.
think perhaps 11 drops of rain about 2 days ago, and that was
And
about it.
That's it, huh?
And
We wouldn't
I-
ordinarily get much rain until June or July, but last year we had 2 rainstorms all summer long. We're horrendously dry.
And sometimes you do get those monsoons.
Well, we should get monsoons every year, but last year
Yeah.
it was a non-soon rather than a monsoon because
Monsoon,
we
I
didn't
like
really get any rain at all. Significant.
And that's when they have the fires. So
Yes.
they
Yeah,
need
we
to
live in-
build, they need to build a water pipeline from New Orleans to
Mm-hmm.
California.
That would be nice.
Yeah, it would for
Ooh.
both areas.
Well, it's been surprisingly dry here in Florida for a while, to the point that my swimming pool is down about, I don't know, about 3-4 inches, and it only needs about another inch, and I'm going to have to put water in it again. So I
Mhm.
usually, when it starts getting low, I start hoping for rain so that Mother Nature will refill it, and I
Yeah,
won't,
right.
won't have to pay the water bill to put more water in my swimming pool. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
oh, the weird things that we hope for. Please rain so I don't have to pay for the water. Yay.
We appreciate the rain now because
Tree is
coming
better.
up within the next couple months, we will go through several months that we don't see it. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's getting into rainy season here. So, it's getting this part of Florida, usually you can go up, oh, it's 3 o'clock. It'll be raining any second now. And there it goes. Yeah, it's, or the other way around. Oh, it's raining. It must be 3. It kind of goes both ways.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
That's what it usually does during our monsoon season. It's fairly predictable. Early afternoon, it'll rain for a couple hours and then stop, but didn't do that at all last year. So we keep getting red flag warnings because it's been terribly windy here. So we're praying that nobody is careless with matches anymore.
Oregon weather can't make up its mind right now.
Where are
doing
you?
out there?
Hot or cold?
No, deciding whether or not it wants to rain.
Where in
That's
Oregon?
Where I am.
Portland.
Oh, I was up in Portland for about a year. Starting in 2019, and then I kind of got stuck there with COVID and just came back last fall.
Wow.
I'm just reporting to Vera that we're on because she asked.
Hi, Vera.
Yes, tell her hi from everybody.
I'll say that. Everyone says hi.
Hello.
Mhm. So we're getting a few
Hello.
few new people anyway that weren't in the last session.
Yeah, a nice crowd, definitely. I'm over here just trying to keep up with the people that are, posting on Facebook about not being able to get in. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been doing that through the whole first session of like, okay, here, do this, do that, do this, do that, and sending people links for Discord and.
Oh,
we have a new person on. We have a Shauna. If you want to unmute yourself, and that would be great.
Hi,
Hi.
Shauna.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice
Hi.
to see you.
Hi, Shauna.
Hi. Nice to see everybody.
Hello.
And we have somebody called Alinari.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
A lot of people with blank video. I don't know if that's just a buzzed background or.
No, because I'm eating an ice cream at the minute. Put it on in a minute, I promise.
Now, do you guys all know about Zoom's augmented features? How you can, I'm gonna get real close. Okay, hold on. So you can see my skin looks very clear and dewy. Yes? It does not normally look like this. This is not how my actual face looks. My face looks much more normal. Let's go away. But if you click on your video, that little corner, you can choose under video settings, and you can have it touch up your appearance, and it will take all blemishes away. And you can choose how much.
I've never seen that setting before.
Mm-hmm.
My choices for pictures were either no face or me at 26. So we went with the cranes and no face.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm sliding that bar and all I do is get whiter. That's all good. Okay.
You do have to have the right lighting in order for it to work well. And you can also, if you download the beta effects, you can add makeup to yourself, which is fun to do when your husband is booked to be online on Zoom and you set it as the default settings.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds like that lawyer that got turned into a cat by accident.
Right, there you go, Shelley. That's what
Yes,
I'm
and
talking
Shelley's
about.
got the
There you
effects.
go.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Yeah, I must not have those
Okay.
on mine because I can't do the funny things.
I
I'm
think
not
it's only
seeing
on my
it either.
laptop. I can't do it on my tablet.
This is why I didn't have a camera installed. It's the insanity.
Oh, no, it's fun. I couldn't live without it. I do too many Zoom meetings with friends I
So-
want to see, and
Yeah, with friends, it would be fine. But my company started doing regular Zoom meetings and I'm like, conference calls used to be fine. You don't need to look at me. You don't need to look at the clients in New York. You don't need to look at me.
Need to get them to put gold wigs or something like that. So we can all.
Oh, that'd be cute. Paint your hair.
here, this is a good one. If
I
that
feel
makes people feel more comfortable,
Oh
yes.
God.
Yes.
I kind of like it. It looks just like me most of the time when I go out.
It's actually kind of amazing how they managed to do that and have everything follow your face and fit on your head. It's good at image recognition.
I can drink with my mask on. Did you notice?
Your mask on.
I am able to do it.
Uh-huh.
That's okay. That's bizarre.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't be playing.
Oh no, that's exactly what I mean. We can't play, why not? You know, have some fun.
I think we were all collectively scarred over the poor lawyer with the cat filter that it just made everybody really back off, right? Like it just,
That was hilarious.
I love the story of the politician. He was arguing against distracted driving.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
He was on a Zoom call from his car. And he set the background to his house.
Wanted the seatbelt, and then like, even though he was trying to do a virtual background behind him, that like the trees kept popping in every once in a while.
Yep, and his seatbelt.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
You know what happened here in Wisconsin this last week is that some guy was coming up from Illinois, excuse me, Charmaine.
No, that's
from
okay. You can have
Chicago, up on the interstate in a Tesla self-drive, and he was sleeping. And somebody called him into the state patrol, and they came and they drove behind him with the sirens blaring and no response. They went 2 miles. So finally he pulled up next to him, looks over and said his head was down, you know, like down. And so finally, you know, trying to get his attention, he finally got his attention, but oh no, I wasn't sleeping.
You can
Well,
sell
the only
that
excuse,
to people, but
the only
we're not
excuse
buying
then
it.
would be that he was ignoring the police, you know, it's one
Well,
of the
yeah,
other.
he
You're ignoring
still
us,
got ticketed, but you know, inattentive driving.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
even
it
though the
inattentive?
Teslas are self-driving, they tell you all the time, you still have to sit behind the wheel and pay attention.
And pay attention. Yeah.
Self-driving's not safe until all the cars are self-driving, because there's too many X factor people doing non-grid things. You can't
Unfortunately,
doze
there's
off.
still non-grid things that happen, even if everything was self-drive.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
a deer runs and jumps in front of your car, and 2 seconds later you crash into it.
Yeah, though I think
Supposedly they're supposed to be able to catch that, or road equipment, or you know, certain things that happen.
I think if you cut out all the people variables, you'd have a lot fewer accidents. I mean, the
Probably.
deer you can't filter for, but
Yeah.
Or we can all own cars that we'd have to sing to make them work.
that would be cool.
It would be cool.
Except mine wouldn't drive very well because
I think we don't have the
Mine wouldn't
population
either.
bred yet to all have perfect pitch or anything.
so Nancy's not on, so she can't see this little puppy that looks like it's about the same size as her Asen. Alinari, what's your doggy's name?
This is Artemis.
Adamus?
Yeah, he's 5
Aw.
months.
He's only 5 months.
You can't sit on my lap.
What a cutie.
What type of dog? What type?
Pomeranian.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say.
Come.
Cute. Very quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, his cat sibling that you
Sometimes.
can't see that's off screen is beside us.
Oh.
She's hiding.
Does
She's
she
hiding just
like the
beside us.
5-month-old, or is it too
Yeah,
energetic?
she's
for her?
getting used to it.
So where are you
Tolerating.
located?
Australia.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
It
you
looks
can
like
see
it's
daylight
raining
in the
outside.
background.
What
Yeah.
time is it there
1:15 p.m. in the afternoon.
on Saturday?
oh, that's a good time.
Yeah.
On Saturday, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're about 23 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Well, not for you.
day after you. Yeah.
It lives in the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10:15 p.m. here, So
Yeah.
that's actually only, what, 15 hours ahead?
8:15 where I am. 'Cause
16.
I'm in
Yeah.
Pacific time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Arizona time, which is our own time
Yeah,
zone.
you live in your own world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that in Australia too, though. There's different time zones.
Wait, isn't Arizona the one that doesn't do daylight savings
Yeah,
time?
we don't do daylight savings time. So
You
I
don't-
switch
Ah, so
back
you-
and forth.
Lucky
At
you.
Certain seasons
you're
of the
like
year, I'm in
us.
mountain time, and other seasons of the year, I'm in Pacific time, so.
And you're the
Yeah, so
only
you're-
one now, right? I mean, Indiana
Yes,
used to
as
do.
far as I know,
Indiana
we're the
used
only
to,
one.
but they don't
No.
anymore. They
Yeah,
go to
it's just
daylight savings.
Arizona. Yeah.
Where,
So you're
where
like
in
us in
Indiana were you
Queensland.
at? Where in Indiana were you at?
Who, me?
Yes.
I actually lived in Michigan, just above the border, 7 miles above the border. So South Bend,
okay.
Kalamazoo, Michigan area.
Mhm.
I was raised in Indiana, in Fort Wayne.
Oh,
You know where
okay.
that
Just,
is? Yeah.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. A little bit south and
Yeah.
east.
Yeah, southeast, yeah.
Yeah.
And we didn't have time changes either. in Fort
I
Wayne.
worked in Indiana for a time. I lived in Michigan and worked in Indiana, so it was always confusing trying to figure out what time I had to be at work.
Yeah.
And the drive, that must have been a long drive.
It was actually Elkhart, so it was only probably half an hour, 45 minutes, so not bad.
My grandparents used to live in Elkhart.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Small world, huh?
It is a very small world. Wow.
And now you're in Texas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Both of you.
Now
Yeah.
we're both in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm following you.
How long have you been in Texas?
Well, we made a pit stop in Oklahoma for a few
Okay.
years.
Okay.
And let's see, I went to high school in Oklahoma and junior
Okay.
high in Oklahoma. And now I met the man that I married here in Texas, like a couple years after I moved to Texas. So
Okay,
That's
so you've
where
been
you are.
you've been here for a while.
I've been to Texas since 1988.
Yeah.
Oh, long time then.
Yeah.
You don't look that old.
I feel really old.
You look like you're 18 years old, Christine.
I know, that's what I was thinking.
51. No, I'm up there for me. So it's been challenging, but worth it.
Good.
Do you miss living up in the cold country where you get snow and all that?
Well, mostly I do because I was a child up there,
Mhm.
and children don't have to shovel snow
Yeah,
that deep.
and you get snow days off of school and the whole bit.
Oh yeah, we got out of school, but we still had to go to school when it snowed. But just when there was that blizzard in, I guess, 78, that was bad, and then the flood right after that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but
think
I
I ever got-
miss making snowmen and the snow forts and all the burrowing in the snow, and
Mhm.
that was fun.
It was
But of
fun, but
course-
I don't miss it.
Yeah, it was fun as a kid. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I look at the snow piles today and not today, but now, because I live in Wisconsin, and I go, oh, that would make a great, place to dig out an igloo kind of thing, a fort. And I'm going, yeah, like I'm gonna do that.
Maybe not today, maybe tomorrow.
Nice to think about.
Maybe in another life.
People just don't know how to drive here, that's all. On
Yeah.
But
ice.
you are very
On ice,
correct.
it's
Everything
horrible.
closes down. If it gets 30 degrees, everything closes down.
Wow.
Well, how did you do when they had the big ice storm recently?
Yeah.
I was really lucky because I didn't lose power. I didn't lose water. My little neighborhood was just fine through the whole thing.
Oh, good.
I didn't have to get out. I'm retired, so I didn't have to get out. So not a big deal at all. But I was really lucky because a lot of people weren't that lucky.
We had some minor power rollouts, brownouts, or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
But they weren't anything long term, nothing more than a couple hours.
You have a different power system there, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah, they're on a separate grid.
Yeah, that's what I.
Well,
that's what I
Texas
thought
in
too.
general, I believe is, yeah.
Texas
Texas has
Yeah.
its own power grid, which is weird.
And then I think,
El
don't quote me on
Paso.
this, there's 2 subgrids in Texas.
Well, El Paso has their own contract from outside
Right.
the state, and they're the only part of Texas that did not lose power. at
Right.
all. So
Now, I
They're
didn't
smart-
lose
they're
it here in
smart.
Houston. My power blinked twice in about 1 minute, and I had it the rest of the time. So I was really lucky, but my son was without it for 36 hours, a half hour away.
Mm.
that's a long time without power.
Can I tell you a story about an ice storm?
Yes.
Not really.
Yes.
It's like weeks here if there's a cyclone that you're without power.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
In 1998, there was an ice storm here. We were out of power for a month
Oh, wow.
Wow.
In the winter, in the winter.
in the winter.
In the winter,
Oh my
yeah.
God.
In
In the
Canada.
winter.
That makes me cold thinking about it.
Yeah, so that
They-
was fun. I was a teenager back then. I was
Yeah.
well, teenager, I was like 18. So that was fun. And that was in the 90s. So there was no internet, or basically none. There
Yeah.
was dial-up internet back then. So the entertainment was not what it is today. And cell phones are not what they are today. So keeping
No.
up with your friends was not what it is today. So when I think about kids complaining about not being able to be in touch with their friends, I'm like, yeah, try not being with power for 3 weeks, no internet, no nothing.
Yeah.
That's really
No
hard.
TV, not even
No
a TV.
TV.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Just
could listen
that,
to
it's
the
like, think
radio
about
if you
trying
had
to survive.
batteries.
And
And if
this
you
is a
Yeah.
vote for paper books. Because
Yeah.
if you can't charge
And
your
even
phone
then, it
or your
was really
Kindle,
hard. It was really hard because it was so gloomy outside. And
Mhm.
my family, I still live with my parents back then. I was just 18 and in college. So I lived with my parents. And we ended up toughing 1 week in the house. And then we had to leave the house because it was too cold.
Yeah.
It got too cold in the house. So
Yeah.
we went to live with my grandparents, my mom's parents, because they had power. So
nobody had fireplaces or Franklin stoves or anything.
no, we didn't have a fireplace, and there was generators could not be found anywhere
Oh.
because everybody went for them like crazy. So that was insane. And there were like shelters set up in schools, but then there was like mini pandemics going around with the flu and stuff. And yeah, so we decided to go live with family that had power. So but
Wow.
that
Was it
not-
a large area that was without power, or like a
It
whole-
was a pretty large area. Yeah. We called it the dark triangle, and I lived right on the peak of one of those triangles. So
Yeah.
yeah.
You don't usually hear in Canada, you don't really hear about like disasters that happen in other provinces because Canada is simply so very large. But everyone knows about the blackouts in Quebec that lasted for a month because it was
I think I even vaguely remember that.
it was a big deal. Like you hear about it, or your children hear about it in school now, and it
Yeah.
was neat because the power grid, major changes came out of to the power grid after that.
Yeah. And I remember when the ice storm happened, like you could hear the transformers like for power just blowing up, and the skies were going purple and going like donks. It was like
Wow.
scary. It was really scary. And you could see them flashing in the sky like every now and then. It was insane. And you know those huge pylons that hold like huge
Mhm.
Yeah.
power lines, like the big ones with the high
Right.
power lines,
Yeah.
they were bent in
my
two
God.
because the
Oh.
ice was so heavy.
Wow.
And that was part of the major problem, was that these big pylons crashed because
had
they
to replace
bent under the weight of the ice. So there was people out there just building those pylons back with huge trunks, like tree trunks, basically. So that's how they rebuilt it in like a month. It was insane.
Emmanuel, they may not appreciate how much snow you get compared to
Yeah, I know.
everywhere else. Like there's just no accounting for the amount of snow that Quebec gets. When you think of Canada and you think, oh, it's snowy and it's very snowy and they live in igloos and it's, you know, it's 10 feet deep. It's not like that most places. It really isn't.
I don't
But
live
it is in
igloo,
Quebec.
I can guarantee you. I live in a house with a roof over my head. Yep.
Yeah.
But we get a lot of snow. Too much. When I hear people say, oh, I miss snow, I'm like, you never lived here because you
can
wouldn't
have
miss
it.
So you live in Quebec City?
No, I live south of Montreal
Okay.
in the
You
province.
don't live that far from Vermont.
No. I live, my house is about a 45-minute drive from Vermont.
Yeah. So yeah,
Near the, whatchamacallit, something gate crossing.
I wouldn't know. I don't live in Vermont.
I forget the name of something gate crossing. I forgot the name of it. It'll come back to me. But like for me to get to Burlington,
Uh-huh.
it's about maybe an hour and 15 minutes at most from my house.
Yeah.
So it's really not far. I used to shop there all the time. I used to go to the University Mall
Mm.
and the Joann's. That's not too far.
But now you can't cross the border.
I can't cross the border.
Yeah.
She can't even leave the province.
No,
All of our provincial borders are closed.
You can't go across
Really?
your provincial borders either? Oh
Wow.
my
So that's like us. There's been lots of border closures here between the states
Yeah,
as well.
between your state. We have not had, we had a little bit of that early on last summer, I think, when Illinois wouldn't let us in from Wisconsin, because Wisconsin's straight north of
Because
Illinois.
Wisconsin was a
Did
real
I don't think
hotspot
we
for a
closed the
while.
border. We just told you you had to quarantine for 14 days.
Well, you did, but then,
And nobody would do that.
and I don't know how they even thought that they could possibly enforce that, but
Yeah, it didn't work really well.
Oh,
In
they
theory, it
did
was supposed to
here.
happen.
I think
Oh,
it's
well,
called
the
the
borders
Highgate
are well enforced
crossing,
here.
by the way. I
what?
think it's called the Highgate crossing. The
Oh,
border
Highgate,
crossing.
yeah, because
Highgate.
Highgate is
Yeah,
up
Highgate,
there.
Vermont.
If it makes you feel any better, I was working up until this last week for Bridgestone Tires, and our Canadian drivers who go from Portland up in through into Canada were having a hard time even getting through.
Wow.
And that's with all the proper documentation and everything.
Yeah.
They're just being really hard ass. And these are people who cross sometimes every day through
They're
the border
essential workers.
twice a day.
Well, you know,
And
there's
they're
a
giving them a
section
problem.
that's part of Washington State. There's a peninsula in Vancouver. There's a peninsula that drops down into Puget Sound area. And the tip of it is US.
Yep.
And the people who live there can either go out on the water or they can drive back through Canada and then back down into the United States. That's the only way they can get to other parts of the United States. So I don't know what they're doing, you know.
Just a couple of places.
I think
like
they've had to go, I think they've had to go by boat. I think I saw something on that they couldn't drive across. So
Yeah.
they were kind of either stuck in that little peninsula,
I mean, I don't even
or
know
they
how
had
they
to take
food
boats
to
across or whatever.
I don't even know.
There's a lot of like
Get most of their
places like
shopping in Canada.
that. And our province was one of the strictest for quarantines and stuff. So it was insane. Yeah.
They just opened parks, like
Oh, there,
outdoors.
Nancy.
Our
That's-
children are allowed to go back to the playground as of
Yeah, that's an
tomorrow.
Ontario. What part of Ontario are you in?
close to Toronto.
Close to Toronto. Okay.
Yeah. So we're very excited because our children can go play in the park again. Not the skate
Yeah,
park,
ours
they can
they
go
started
outside.
announcing that next week people will be able to eat outside for in restaurants. So people are excited.
Our Home Depots aren't even open. Our Walmarts aren't even open.
Sally,
Our Walmarts
Wow.
have been open for quite some time.
Point Roberts, Washington.
All stores have been open for quite some time, actually. Quite a long time, actually. They've been open for months now. So
Nope. Not a thing is open here. Just grocery stores.
the only
And the
thing that's
aisles that
been
have things that
closed-
are like clothing are blocked off.
Yeah. It was like that for us at the beginning of the third wave, but that got, but even like Walmart stayed open because Walmart sells food.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
stayed open. But most of the stores, like even
Figured you guys
non-essential
had Walmart.
stores now, they've been open for months and months and months. But restaurants were closed. And they're still closed until next week, where they can only open outside.
So were they
They
fully
haven't even been
closed, or
open
was
for
it like
pickup,
here where they
for
could send
takeout,
the
for
food
pickup?
out?
I'm sorry, Shelley, what were you saying?
It said your restaurants aren't even open for pickup or
Yeah,
for.
that's the only thing. Some are open for pickup, and some aren't even open for pickup, only like delivery.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
was
the
the
only
way
way
it
some
was
would
here.
survive.
Yeah. I went out for lunch the first time this last week with friends.
Me too.
We sat outside. It
Oh.
was nice.
I ordered a lot of restaurant, to be honest, just to like keep them afloat, and I want to help with that. So I help to keep local businesses afloat, like ordering through like Skip the Dishes and stuff. So
Arlenari, what about, are there restrictions where you are? You're down in the UK, down in Australia, right? That's what you said?
we're pretty
Yeah, I
strict
mean,
in Australia too.
We are to the rest of the world, yeah. Internally, at the minute, no. All the states are fairly open again. New South Wales has probably got the strictest restrictions at the minute, so they've still require you to wear a mask on public transport and stuff, but everything's back open. Even big events and stuff are happening now. So festivals, events, all those sorts of things are back on. It's still closed border to the rest of you guys until mid to the end of next year. I'm actually a nurse, so I've been sharp end of it for a very long time, but we've been very, very lucky here. Majority of our cases have been ones that have come in from overseas, so they're coming through our hotel quarantine system. So they don't generally get out into the public. We've had probably 1-2 scares per state, and that's when all the borders shut between states. So if it does make it out in a state, like it did here in Brisbane, we had one of our hotel quarantine workers acquire it, and then she'd been out in the community for 24 hours. So the whole of the area where she was shut down for 3 days.
Wow.
We went into a 3-day lockdown, and then we're all let back out again because it didn't spread, because it's really quick here, quick and hard. So we go into really quick, short lockdowns of like 3 days, 5 days, and then they let us back out again.
But even like Australians that come from another country, it's really hard to get back in the country, right?
We have capped limits on how many can come back in, but that's so that our hospitals don't get overwhelmed. So yeah, it's very difficult at the minute. And our government passed laws where India were concerned a few weeks back that if you tried to come back, even if you were an Australian citizen, you could face jail time. They've done 2 repatriation flights now to bring some people back, but if you tested positive before the flight, you weren't allowed to come back. They're just not letting them back in. And of the ones that came back, I think there's 2 have tested positive since they've been in quarantine, but they're in like a really isolated outback area where it's really unlikely that it can actually get out and get to anywhere else. They're basically in one of the military camps, which has been retrofitted. And then we send all of the med staff up there to look after them.
And did they have like the Indian variant? Yeah. Yeah, that's
What's the
struggle in
status?
Canada
What,
right now. Like,
what's the status with
variants.
vaccines in Australia or in Canada? Really, I haven't.
Yeah.
I haven't paid
So
attention to
here in
Canada, but certainly
Australia,
not.
it's not as many vaccinated as they would like, but it's slow to roll out because of the amount of doses. And we've had a lot of cases of blood clots from the AstraZeneca, so that's making people very wary. And here in Australia, they will not give you AstraZeneca unless you're over 50 because it's too dangerous. There's been too many cases that have gotten blood clots.
Yeah,
Wow.
So yeah, if you're under 50, then it's Pfizer or Moderna.
yeah, here it's pretty much the same for AstraZeneca. Like they're pretty much stopping it now, unless people really want it, and they're not giving it unless you're 45 or older.
Yeah,
And
it's 50 here,
yeah,
but
it's
they're not
45
taking it either.
here in my province.
Yeah.
And it differs from province to province. Some have
It's Australia wide here.
Yeah, some have stopped altogether. And I also know that they don't plan on ordering anymore once those doses are given out. And
insane.
they also said that once they might even just let the doses waste out if nobody wants.
There's talk here because there's been 18 cases in 3 days, which is insanely
Wow.
huge given the doses that, and some of those are quite young. There's been an 18-year-old student nurse here in Queensland that has got the blood clotting disorder because of it. Because of that, they are reviewing at the minute, so it'll be a decision probably Monday at this stage as to whether or not it will be stopped altogether, because the over 50s are currently refusing to have it and preferring to buy doses of Pfizer rather than have it from the AstraZeneca stock. So they're talking about the same here, and they're not getting any more of the AstraZeneca, and they've rushed through the Australian mRNA one, which was started right at the very beginning of the pandemic back in April last year. And that's from Queensland University here, and they've rushed production of that, so that will have roughly 1 million doses available at the end of the year. So that will probably be what most people will get, because it's very similar to Pfizer, but that's manufactured here in Australia.
Boy, but the end of the year is still a long way away. That's kind of scary.
Which is
we're getting a
also-
lot of Pfizer now. too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing you need to remember is we have zero community transmission here. Zero.
Right.
So there's
right.
none.
At least
But it's a
you're
matter of being able to open up your country again. Yeah, that's
It's
open
not
it-
going to happen anytime
yeah.
soon.
yeah.
they don't need to open it to the rest of us. They just can
No, we
be
don't.
happy. Yeah, be happy where you are.
We
You can go
don't.
out, you can do
Yeah,
things as long
yeah.
as you can get.
That's the whole thing. The rest of the world wants to get here, but we
Yeah,
don't
no.
need you to be here. Australia is completely self-sufficient in a lot of ways. So
Right.
that's the thing. We manufacture most of the stuff we need. We make more medical stuff than the rest of the world combined. Like the second that this happened, we retrofitted even more. So now we've got, which we just sent a whole bunch actually to India, but we've got more respirators and equipment and masks and PPE and all of that stuff than we could ever use. We've got massive stockpiles of it in case we have another outbreak, because we've produced more than we needed. We went into military status the second that the outbreak happened.
And in the
They
United
had all the field
States, we've
hospitals
given away
ready.
all of ours.
Yeah, no, that didn't happen here. We went to where we could all be, all of us nurses, all the doctors, all the medical staff were all told 3 days after the first case got here, which was in January, like before we went into lockdown and all of those things, we were told then field hospitals are sitting at the ready. PPE has been put into what we classify as the first stage of a military attack, and it is priority for that to be created now. And everything started here in the February, and then we went into a full hard lockdown in the March just to make sure. And the borders were all shut to the rest of the world in March, which is why we've done so well, because we didn't let you guys in for a start. And anyone that comes back from March last year, like, you went straight into 2 weeks of quarantine. You weren't allowed to just come in and go, be in the community. You're still not. If you come in from overseas, you're met at the airport by our actual Australian Defence Force, not just the police. You're met by the Australian Defence Force. If you try to break the border, God help you, they have shot one person.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Oh no, they take it deadly seriously here.
Wow.
There was one person that tried to get in that lied about where they were from and where they'd been, and then tried to run from the airport, and they shot them in the leg. So it's deterred everyone else from doing that.
That's serious.
That's nuts.
Yep.
Why do that? Like, seriously, why?
That's our government for you.
No,
Not
I
all of
mean,
us
like,
agree with it.
why take the risk of running away from the airport? Like, why?
A lot of people try to lie to get in.
Because they didn't want to be bothered with a quarantine.
Yeah, and back then they weren't even having to pay for it either. The government paid for it.
Wow.
Up until July last year, the government paid for everyone that came back. So if you were in, and that's the thing, it's like a lot of Australians now that are still overseas are whinging because they can't get back in. Initially, we had no caps on people coming back in, and your quarantine was fully paid for. We asked all Australian citizens to return to Australia by July last year. People who didn't are the ones that are now going, oh, but I can't get back in. It's like, well, it's your own fault. You were asked to return. You were told that if you returned, the government would foot the bill for you returning and for you spending 2 weeks in quarantine. In some cases, they organise repatriation flights to certain areas where the flight was paid for as well.
Wow.
And they refused to come.
I have a question about your financial infrastructure then. So in Canada, or at least in Ontario, we had basically guaranteed income for a time, right? For
Same
everyone
here.
to stay
It's
home.
only just
right?
stopped.
It's a pretty significant income. It really is enough to live on. But it's destroyed our budget and our economy. Like, we're going to be paying for it for the next 20 years. My children will be paying for this time.
Not quite 5 years here.
Your great grandchildren will probably be paying.
But like, it's that much.
Okay. Yeah, so it's $65 billion here, but it'll only take 5 years for that to be paid back. So five years of us doing it a little bit tougher for, like, there's not the tax cuts and things for 5 years. All of the health workers, all of the politicians, all of the ones that are on higher incomes, we all didn't take pay rises, and we're not going to get any pay rises for that 5 years, and we're not going to get the tax breaks that we might have got previously, but we've still got a job, we've still got incomes. So that's why it's working, because all of us have said, okay, cool. If everyone else hasn't got a job, all right, so be it. But we have like frozen our pay rises and kept our tax rates at what they were previously, rather than taking the tax breaks. So that's why.
We're not getting tax breaks.
No tax breaks here.
Yeah, none here either.
But at the same time, 5 years is not that bad, and the majority of people are now starting to get work again. So once they're back in work and they're earning, and then they're getting tax from them, it will then mean that the freeze on all the pay rises and things will start to ease as we move forward. But at the moment, it's slowly getting back to normal.
Your country is so much smarter than ours in the US.
So yeah, I think it's probably just that we're far more resourceful because we are an island that's off by itself, and at the end of the day, we started out all criminals, so we're pretty resourceful little rat bags. So
I also think it's because, like,
Exactly the size of the United States.
Yeah.
Well, it's also because I think countries like Canada and Australia are countries that are more focused socially.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely.
and we're not like socialists, but we're more focused socially.
No, but I mean, here it's, free healthcare, there's a lot of childcare benefits, all those sorts of things.
We care about our people.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
we don't want to leave anyone behind.
Yeah,
That's what-
definitely.
Definitely.
I wish we could say the same, but we can't.
No, not for a long
I'll
shot.
agree with you.
It may change. You never
Every
know.
country has its strengths and weaknesses, right? And that's
Oh, it has its weaknesses for sure. I can tell you
Definitely.
about them too.
Yeah, it does.
Definitely. And Australia's not without them, so that it's the same everywhere.
That is true.
You guys don't wait like 3-4 years to be assigned a doctor, I'm sure.
No,
Yeah.
No.
not
Well,
where
in
I
Canada,
live.
you
I'm
do.
not saying,
Get free health care, but you wait 3 to 4 years to get a doctor assigned to you.
Yeah, but you don't lose your house when you
Wow.
get sick either.
right.
Holy moly, 3 to
Or
4
you don't go
years.
bankrupt.
Well, let's see, I've lost many doctors because I either changed jobs or my employer changed insurance. I've lost or not been able to get a doctor because all the ones in my area are like, well, we have enough patients with that insurance. Try somebody else. So we all have.
Wow. Holy moly, like here during the pandemic, we actually like rolled out more doctors. We fast tracked doctors through their internship so that they could be GPs on the end of the lines.
Wow.
So they were fast tracked through for the last 2 months of their internship to like make it quicker for their process to be put through. And then we rolled out a massive telehealth sort of system here as well, where if you couldn't get into your doctor, you could do what we're doing now. You can Zoom with a doctor. And the doctor will be able to like email you a prescription, and then you just take that email to the pharmacist and they can fill the prescription for you.
That they do here too. But like,
Yeah.
you want your general practitioner and you need one assigned to you, the average is about 3 to 4 years. Like for
Wow.
me, for example, I was out of one because my previous one retired, and I waited for a new one for 3 years, and I was on priority B list, which is
So
because
category
I have
2 here.
chronic migraines and I
Yep.
suffer a lot from them. So I was like, really, like, it's not the A list, but it's right behind it. And someone with
Man,
no
that's
medical,
incredible.
yeah,
So
and
cat
no
2
medical
here.
problems will be on D list. Like my
Yeah.
husband put
Yep.
himself on the list at the same time as me. He's on the D list. He's still
Yeah.
waiting 5 years.
So what do
Wow,
you do
geez,
when you
that's
see a doctor? You
ridiculous.
What do you do in the meantime? I mean, if you need medical care, you don't just go without, obviously. What do you
Well,
do?
no, if you were like needing medical care, you have like walk-in clinics, or you can go to the hospital emergency if you want to.
Wow.
Those are still available.
No, we try to make it that you don't go to emergency. The whole point is,
Yeah,
and that's
but if
what I
you
was
really
doing
need
for the
to
whole
go-
pandemic, was actually working a line called 13 Health, which is all nurses, all registered nurses. You ring us, we triage you over the phone, and then point you in the direction of the best service
Yeah,
for you
we
that keeps you out of emergency.
we don't have
We were
enough nurses
taking
to do that.
6,000 calls a day to that service, and that was just in
Wow.
Queensland.
We
Yep.
don't have enough nurses here. We are
There's a
not
team of
near
200 of us that were doing that.
So, but yeah, my husband is still waiting for a general practitioner 5 years later.
Wow, that is insane. Like you will wait here, category 2, which is what you are. You would have waited, like, maximum that we can let you wait is 2 weeks. And if it's
Yeah.
longer than 2 weeks, we have to contact you and explain why it's taking longer than 2 weeks to give you a doctor.
But
And
see,
then we can
not without
base
its flaws,
actual
right?
fines for actually having it take longer than 2 weeks. So as the service stretches out the times, we then get fined for not giving you a doctor soon enough, so that we don't do it.
But my healthcare is free.
Yeah,
but
well, it's free here
that's why the
too.
United States says, oh, we don't want socialized health, because look at Canada. People have to wait for
Yeah, but look at us though. We've got it.
Yes,
We don't wait.
but do I lose my house
or something, and then
heart surgery?
they don't see the benefits of it. You know, they see all.
Gallbladder surgery here, the maximum time you will wait is 90 days. And that's very, very rare. It basically doesn't
See,
happen
yeah,
except
that's
during
it.
the middle
Once
of the
you're doing
pandemic.
surgeries or like emergency surgeries, you will get them very fast.
Yeah, but if you need, let's say, a knee replacement, you might wait longer than you would.
90 days, 2 months,
90
3 months?
days.
But like you were saying,
People
it's not like
here-
you have to
all I'm saying is that
choose
people
between your
here-
health care and your home.
excuse me, people hear these stories about having to wait for services or waiting to get a doctor, and then they use that as their reason why we shouldn't have socialized health here in the United States. That's,
Exactly. And it's ridiculous because we have people going bankrupt too often.
Right.
That's
of
our
medical-
point of view because we're
and they
like,
don't
Yeah,
care
look, I've
who
looked
cares
after an
about health
American.
insurance.
save your
Yeah.
life.
Go fund me so your child can get leukemia treatment.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's
That's
obscene.
how we get treatment here for people who don't have insurance or
So
they have
that
poor
explains.
insurance that it won't cover them.
Yeah, so years ago I looked after a little lady who'd come into the Gold Coast here, had flown in from the States, and she had a stroke on the plane. And she was in tears in the emergency department because we come down and meet them in the emergency department because we were able to do what's called lysis, so break the clot. And actually she was up walking around after 4 hours, but she was in tears because she was like, how am I going to afford this? How am I going to do this? And we're like, if you can't afford it, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Like, even if you're from overseas, we won't charge you. We'll absorb it. And she was like, wait, what? But she was in tears because she was
And
like,
this is why somebody
"Yeah,
got
I
shot in the
can't
leg to
afford
get into your
this,"
country.
Probably. Look, the amount of people applying for, you know, permissions to come to our country, to actually move to our country, is insane at the minute. Like, the number of applications has almost quadrupled in the last 6 months because people just want to move here because it's safer than everywhere else in the world at the moment.
Yeah,
I believe
You're
so.
saying-
I know that one of my friends who was stuck in the United States, you guys snapped her up in Canada really fast because she was stuck in the United States, couldn't get back to us, but she's the same as me, clinical nurse with 15 plus years experience across stroke, cardiac, like NICU, PICU, all the really good stuff. So she's now working for you guys and she's in Ontario, I believe. So yeah, you guys like snapped her up real fast because she basically sent
at the beginning of
the
the
message.
Everyone who had any medical training had to immediately register with the government.
Yeah.
So I'm an ex-paramedic, and they found me through my university education, because in Ontario you need a university degree to be a paramedic, which is, I guess, the equivalent of EMT for you guys.
Yeah.
Right.
So they like we were all required to register in order to be prepared
Same here.
assistance. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm 10 years out of date, and in the world of medical land, that's like,
that doesn't matter. They would train you here. They still tracked everyone down. Even all the nurses that were retired were brought back in. There's a lot of nurses who were retired who are working that 13 health number because it's like they're sitting at a desk just taking calls all day, but they were called back in.
wow. I got asked to be a doffing agent, which is someone who's responsible for taking PPE off and on existing medics. So it's grunt work. It's the dirtiest, dirty grunt work. If you're gonna, I'm like, nope. Thankfully, they gave us the option to say no, but because I could justify that with 3 kids, and I was like, look, I'm making masks. Ah.
Yeah, like a lot of the ones here that were really out of date, they were put in charge of doing things like running the PPE system and stuff here. So there's big stores, which that's what they do. They keep it stocked, and they keep it stocked with the things that we actually need because they know that. I mean, of course, they know what's required and what's not required. So that was what they were put in charge of.
Yeah, one of my friends was like, are you going to be back on the truck? And I'm like, are you kidding me? No, 10 years. You're 2 years out of date as a medic, and you're useless now. Like, truly, you are, because the protocols changed so much here.
6 months. 6 months here, and they'll retrain you. But that's the thing, though. They put all us CNNs in charge of retraining them all. That was what we did.
That's wild.
So essentially, they all came in under the equivalent of a grad program for 12 months, and they've all been retrained, and they're all back. So it's like, the last batch of student nurses were rushed through that they all finished in November. All their registrations were through by like the January, which is unheard of. It never happens that quickly, but they got them all registered by the January. So they were all out. So all the hospitals hired like the biggest numbers of grad nurses that we've ever hired. So most of the hospitals were about 176, 180 nurses that they hired from the grad nurses for each hospital. And then as well as that, there was also the bring people back program as well. So they were able to like bring in nurses that were not necessarily current and retrain them back up.
You head into bed, Alex.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, Alex.
Hey,
Right.
I'm gonna pop out as well because I've been on for 3 hours and So I'm gonna pop out and see you guys tomorrow.
I was going to do the same
Good evening,
thing.
Shelley.
Good
Bye.
night.
Yep.
Y'all
Must
tomorrow.
be get, must be
Good
getting
night.
late for all of you guys over there.
I think it's time for me to head out too. I'm not going to be available the rest of the weekend, so you guys better do a whole lot of videos because I'm looking forward to seeing
Oh,
them
yeah.
the first of the week. So good to meet all of you.
Definitely.
Good night, too.
I
Night.
think it's,
Night.
yeah, I'm gonna head out as well. I got some stuff to take care of, so
Me too. Have a good night,
Night,
everybody.
have a good night.
Night,
Night,
everybody.
Shauna.
Yeah.
Bye.
The Canadians and the Aussies and a couple Americans. How fun is
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
We're hardcore.
To
Die
the two
hard, we're
moderators.
still here.
And you Canadians.
It's not
are-
that late here. I mean, it's only midnight.
Yeah, you're in the more
Eastern
Eastern
time
time
zone.
zone, so it is getting late for you at
Oh,
least.
it's just midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I work until 10, I took today off so I could do all the fun stuff, but so normally I'm working till 10-ish and I don't usually go to bed till 2, but I have to get up and work at 9 o'clock in the morning, which is horrible for me because I normally start work at 1.
So
And then
funny
don't
story.
normally work on Saturdays. And so I'm like, really? I have to work this Saturday? Like I have to get up extra early and do the work thing and then do the convention.
So funny
Oh.
story. I wasn't supposed to work on Saturdays in May, and now they changed my schedule. And I was supposed to work tomorrow, and I was like, nope, this isn't gonna happen. So I made sure not to work tomorrow.
Well, I don't always.
I fought my battle. I was like, no, there's no way I'm missing it. No way.
Wait,
Yeah.
you don't have to go to work? Pardon?
Yeah. I work for the federal government, the same government that pays those recovery benefits. So, yeah, we are open on Saturdays because people need that money.
Thank you for working.
So I work at a bank and sometimes we have to do software installs on the weekend so that everybody can get their money normally during the week and it doesn't get in,
Yeah.
people like getting their money. Who knew? Yeah. So
Yeah, I work for the federal government, and I'm part of the government that does taxes, the equivalent of the IRS in Canada, which is the CRA. We take care of the recovery benefits for the pandemic. So the benefits that help people that are unemployed because of COVID. So that's that's my department that takes care of that. So, or part
That's
of it.
a lot.
So,
Yep. Cool. Very cool.
yeah.
Mary, what do you do? Are you retired?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Or-
Carrie,
Oh, okay.
Mary.
No, yes, I am retired. So currently I don't do anything. Well, I stay busy, but I try and stay busy. I've been homebound, of course, like most of us since the whole COVID thing began. My husband was considered high risk. I'm fairly healthy and I don't really have much in the way of problems, but he had a lot of medical problems, has a lot of medical problems. And so I was isolated like everybody else in order to make sure that I wasn't going to bring anything home. But no, I was fortunate to be able to retire relatively early. So
What about
now-
you, Ricky?
So by training, I'm a paramedic, but I'm home now with my kids and I run my own first aid business prior to COVID, which has shut that down essentially. And I work part-time church admin, but all our churches are closed. So, and have been for a long time. So and because we're at stay-at-home orders, we're told not to go to work and stay home as much as you can. And I have 3 kids who are all deep in the trenches of online schooling. elementary school age. So
That's more than a full-time job then.
Yes, I
it's
would say.
full time. They're online from 9 till 3 of varying degrees, and you know, it's a lot
Excuse
of
me,
work.
ma'am. Are you supposed to be on my desk? Yeah, no, you're. Well, there. Off the desk. Sorry. She just jumped up here and started rubbing her face on all my paperwork. I'm like, no, get off my desk. So I talk to her like she's a person half the time. I'm like, excuse me.
Okay, I talk to my cats like they're people. They're my
Yeah,
fur
same.
babies.
Doesn't everyone talk to their fur babies that way?
I think so.
most guys, yeah.
They're my fur
Yeah.
babies. So I talk to them like they're people.
Yep.
Yeah, I think everybody talks to their pets like they're people.
And,
Yeah,
and I'm
definitely.
assuming everybody also has about 6 names for each one of their fur babies, depending on the mood, on their mood and what the cat's done or the dog's done.
Yep. Definitely. They know how big amount of trouble they're in based on what name you call them.
Right, exactly. Yes. So if my cat Loki, he's first of all, he's just a big kitty. He's supposed to weigh about 15 pounds. So he's like, if you think of a standard house cat and a Maine Coon, he's about in the middle size wise.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And then he's also chunky, so he weighs like 20 pounds. He's a big,
Wow.
a big guy. So when he's just laying around doing nothing, I usually call him Doofus because he just like.
Yeah. Nice.
And then I've also called him Diva Boy, and because he acts like he's too good to be a cat sometimes. So if he was a human, I'm pretty sure he'd come with a 5-page rider. Okay, we must be fed here and here and here, and I don't want that kind of food. And yeah,
Yeah. Oh. A long list of demands, you reckon?
Exactly. Yes.
I have kids for that, so I'm not willing to pick some pets. So
Okay,
it's
just-
demand. Well, I have boys, and they're always hungry, and they're always eating, and I feel like
Boys will
I
do
like
that.
making food.
Mm. Yep.
Your life as a cook is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's really all I do. It's just unreal how much they eat. Thank goodness Costco's still open,
Yeah.
Yes.
but only parts of it.
It's funny how Ontario is like slightly behind us in terms of like confinement and what you guys are doing, because we were like this like in December where everything was like closed, and now you guys are where we were back in December.
We've been closed for like 4 months like this.
Yeah. But for us it was like December, and then this stopped maybe in like early February, and yeah, and then they imposed that part where everybody had to be home by 8:30.
Oh, curfew. Yeah. You had curfew. We never had a curfew. But I mean,
We
we
had one for a little while. I think it lasted like a week or 2 weeks or something, and then they just went, no, never mind.
The curfew is actually being lifted next week, I think. Next week. Yeah, I think so.
I don't
Next
think
week
we
or the
ever
week
had one.
after. I don't remember honestly. So, but
I had
it's
to drive to the children's school to beg them for their indoor shoes because there's nowhere you can buy shoes right now.
yeah.
Oh.
Well,
Yeah.
that the part where like children's clothes weren't part of essential stuff to me
Wait, what?
does not make sense. Yeah, I know.
What? What?
There's
Especially
nowhere
in the
here you
winter
can buy.
time. Because like in the winter time, asking children not to lose like their hats, their mittens, outgrow their clothes.
Oh yeah, I was thinking on the outgrow things, just level from
Outgrow
there.
them, I think that would be an issue. It'd be like, I mean, kids grow, how can they not?
Exactly. And they lose
Yeah.
their mittens, they lose their hats, they lose
Yeah, the only way
Wow.
we can is if we order it through Amazon. Sorry.
yeah, you can. But like if you say for example, you go out shopping with your kids because you can't leave them alone at home, right?
Right.
I mean, and your kid, I don't know, loses a mitten in a parking lot and you don't notice right away. Well, what are you going to do? Can't buy one in the store.
Wow.
That's terrible.
Even during the full lockdown here, clothing stores and those sorts of things were not closed. They were click and collect only. So you could order online and then go and purchase it to pick up, but they were not closed. And if for any reason, like normally it's less kind of easy for returns and stuff, but during that time, if you purchase something for your child and it was the wrong size or whatever, then you could just take it back and they'd exchange it for you.
We do click and collect here, but there's no returns permitted.
Wow. Well, the only thing they didn't, well, which is for obvious reasons, allow returns on here is toilet paper because idiots stocking it up. But otherwise, everything else was always still returns allowed.
Oh my God, so the toilet paper thing got all the way to Australia as well? The toilet paper hoarding?
Yep, it was insane. We were all
That,
like,
that was insane, and it was not logical at all.
It was
No.
completely illogical. It's not,
No.
it's not exactly
I
a
got-
survival good. You're not
no,
going
that's,
to
I mean, I
die
got
without it.
everything else that sold out, but the toilet paper thing was a bit weird.
A-
Like
and
there
the
was a
worst
lot of
part of
other
it-
staples.
The worst part of it is like when it happened, most people were on lockdown at home. So if you're on lockdown at home and you're out of toilet paper, guess what, people? You have towels that you can use and rewash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it made no sense at all. That, I mean, it was like, what kind of instinct is it to say I can't survive without toilet paper? I'm like,
To me, like, I mean, that was my first instinct. I'm like, I'm not going to run to the store to be part of this because I'm stuck at home. I have washcloths, I have towels. So if I really run out of toilet paper, that's what I'll use, and then I'll just throw them in the wash.
wash them.
Yeah.
Yes. Mhm.
Do I
That's
need
Yeah.
to
what makes
survive?
sense to me much
Absolutely
more.
not.
Yeah, the smart people here were stocking up on things like nappy sand to wash the things that they were using alternately to toilet paper. But yeah, the rat bags were running around, literally causing like riots in the aisles to
it
get
was
toilet
crazy.
paper. Yeah.
Ricky, I missed, where is it that you live?
I'm in Brisbane in Australia.
Okay, and Ricky is, where are you?
I'm just outside of Toronto.
Outside of
Okay, so
Toronto,
you're in
yeah.
Canada as well then? Okay.
Mhm.
I mean, I know Emmanuel's in Canada, so yeah.
Mhm.
It's the equivalent of like 3 or 4 states are away from me.
Oh,
We're not,
yeah.
we're not close at all.
Oh, yeah, no, you said you're in near Toronto, right? And isn't Emmanuel, did you say you're near Quebec?
I'm in Quebec, but
Yeah.
I'm in near Montreal.
Montreal, okay.
So she's about 600 kilometers away, about a 6-hour drive from me.
Yeah, I've actually, Toronto's one of the only places in Canada of the lower parts that I haven't been to. I've been to all the other provinces, just not the one where Toronto is. One of these days I'll make it there. But I've been to Montreal and I've been to Vancouver and I've been to Winnipeg and I forgot, there's one more. Yeah, so yeah. Trying to make it away all the way across, you know.
Very different. It's very different than all of those places.
I like Toronto. I miss Toronto. I haven't been there in a couple of years, a few years actually, more than 10 years, I think was the last time I went.
I've been through Toronto a couple times, but it was a long time ago.
Same. I've traveled right around America and Canada, but a very long time ago.
Yeah.
I've also been to Australia once, so that was fun. I got to go to Sydney
not.
and Melbourne.
Peux-tu faire mon truc d'eau, s'il te plaît?
And as my
Australia is
friend
one of the
says,
places.
you know, we were supposed to go to New Zealand last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's kind of the running joke because of the fact that we couldn't go to New Zealand. So we are always like, did you know we were supposed to go to New Zealand last year?
Yeah, that's the only country that's open to Australia at the moment is New Zealand, because there is so many New Zealanders here and there is a safe bubble between the two of us. But other than that, we're not open to any other country.
At one point, we hoped we would be able to maybe go to, still take our trip by the end of this year, but that's not looking like that's going to happen. So we're just like, well, okay, how's 2022 looking?
Yeah, no, yeah, their Prime Minister Arden has pretty much said the same thing. It'll be mid to late next year, because same thing there. The biggest problem was that doses for us, because we are at the end of the day a British colony, Britain were like, no, we need them more. So a lot of our doses stayed in the like UK rather than actually being sent here, and so we were a lot less doses here of all of the vaccines than what we wanted. But at the end of the day, we're also just coming out of summer now, so we're pretty safe at the minute, and they're suggesting that we shouldn't at this stage get another wave, because it's been pretty safe all along. So hopefully it will be the case. And until yesterday, total deaths in Australia has been 951. So it's like really, really, really
that is
low.
amazing. That is amazing.
And that's mostly, in all honesty, being people in their 80s and 90s who had so many comorbidities that we were just not able to save them. Yeah. Anyone that got it that was young, we pretty much saved. Like, there's a lot more people that have had it, but we just had a greater success rate of getting them better and getting them home than a lot of the other countries did. And we just haven't had as many at all. In total numbers, we're under what most countries have had in a day for the whole time. So we're very, very lucky.
Do you have a lot of long haulers? Like, that's what we're seeing here is a great deal number of long haulers with long haul symptoms.
There certainly is a number of those. The worst ones at the minute are the ones that have got the UK variant. It tends to stick for longer, but certain variants are definitely worse. The UK variant, the Brazil variant, and at this stage, it's too soon to tell where the Indian variant is concerned, but certainly they seem to exhibit different symptoms, and they can be harder to treat than the original variant as well. So yeah, definitely there is quirks between all the different variants.
That's a little bit of a concern, I think, because we are opening up so much now. And it's very easy to get across our borders. I mean, it's extremely easy to get into the US. And so.
Oh, heck, just try living in Florida where, the governor's like, well, we shouldn't have been wearing masks in the first place. That's just stupid. And he's never wanted to do anything. And now he's just like, oh, everybody come to Florida. And those of us who live here are like, please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Sounds like your governor is kind of like the Texas one. We closed markets. I mean, we did not close any markets or Walmarts at all, ever. We didn't even close boot shops.
Wow.
I was shocked at how many things we had open.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man,
When I finally got out.
They were asking everybody to stay home for that 1 week. That was the only time that anything was closed.
For 1 week.
For the ice storm.
Wow.
No, that was just that first week when they pretty much nationwide they were saying, please, everybody just stay home. This should be basically in the early times they were hoping it would just, 1 week should do it.
Oh, I was an essential worker, so I was still working in the building at that time, and we had letters to print out saying we were essential workers because I work for an airline. But right now I'm not working. They offered to pay us for 18 months if we won't work.
Wow.
And then we retire automatically at the end of the 18 months.
Oh, there you go.
So it's almost like you're being severanced out, really. Like you're being bridged and then severanced almost.
That's exactly what it is. But the neat thing is I will complete my 25 years during the 18 months. I'll be considered a 25-year employee, which means I get extra benefits.
Yay!
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That.
But we fly everywhere in the world. So I've heard horror stories from people that have been stuck in countries for 8 or 10 months because they couldn't get out of that country.
Oh,
I've heard stories too.
And it just has made me so sad. One guy says, please, if you can get me on the flight please, I want to go home. I haven't been home in 9 months.
Put me in the jump seat.
Yeah, they can't.
Yeah, what I wonder about all these people that are stuck somewhere else is how the hell do they pay for that? I mean, because you can't just live in a well, you can, but I mean, it's expensive to live in a hotel for months and months and months.
He luckily had relatives. If he hadn't had relatives, he says, I would have gone bankrupt or been homeless in that country where I have a perfectly good job and a home.
Why is that? I mean, we're not prohibiting people from coming in anymore, are we? Is there just not enough seats available?
Well, the worst problems I felt like was anybody in China or Singapore specifically, because they're charging them not to change the flight, but to fly, and it's over $6,000. And I think that's ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. And I feel bad for those people, please get my mother home. She needs to go home to be with my father. She came to visit me and she hasn't been able to go home in months. And I couldn't do anything for the one woman, and I felt so horrible for her. I was in tears.
What do you do, Lanier?
I work for a major airline that's a worldwide airline.
Okay.
So, but I don't want to say the name only because they're a horrible company and I don't like them. But I used to work for another airline and we merged. And before the merger, I worked 16 and a half years, loved my job every day. I won't say every minute, but I loved my job, couldn't wait to go to work, and then we merged.
Yeah, I've been in not the bank that I work at now, but about 3 banks ago, I think it was like that, where we called it at the time. Well, it was started off Barnett Bank, and then Nations Bank bought them, and then Nations Bank bought Bank of America, but kept that name. So so we called it Bar Nations Bank. We had the same desk, but still worked for 3 different companies. It was crazy.
Yeah, I would answer the phone sitting in the same desk, sitting in the same place, doing the exact same job, and have to answer with a different airline. And there were so many times that first year that I'd start out with the wrong airline.
Wrong one. Exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if you can see on the screen, where it says my last name. That really is my last name. It's been my last name all but 7 years when I was married to somebody else, and I changed it back. So over the years, I've worked places where they want you to answer the phone saying, either, your whole name, or Miss, Mrs., Mr., whatever, and then your last name, right? Well, I don't care who called where. If they hear Sears, so then they think, oh my God, I've called the wrong place. And so I learned a long time ago, do not include my last name whenever I answer the phone. So all in REM, in case you don't know, Sears is a department store here in the US. Okay, I never assume people outside the US actually know. Some do, some don't.
They were in Canada.
Yeah, I knew the Canadians would know, but Australia, I was like, I don't think it's ever been down in Australia. So, so the funniest thing was when I was in college, I actually worked at a J.C. Penney, which is the one of the other major brands at the mall, right? So like most of the malls, like Sears would be on one end, literally, and J.C. Penney would be on the other. So that was also back when they put your entire name on your name tag, Ricky? And so it said Terry Sears is J.C. Penney. Hi, Ricky. And so nobody ever knew what store they were in, and because they'd look at my tag and see Sears and think they were in Sears, and I'm like, nope, you're in Sears. And
that had to be so confusing.
It was crazy. And then the manager decided that was one of the first places I worked where I learned this. so he decided that in order for everybody to be more professional, that we should answer the phones in our department saying, Miss whoever you were. And I'm like, so I totally understand that. And I did it once because I figured this is not going to go over really well. And I did. I said, "This is Miss Sears speaking. How can I help you?" And they just said, and hung up. And then they called right back. And I said, "Hi, this is Terry. How can I help you?" And they're like, I don't know what happened. I somehow got Sears a minute ago. And I just said, "Yeah, that happens sometimes." So I started answering the phone that way, just saying, this is Terry. And the store manager happened to be walking by one day about 3 or 4 days later. Just as the phone was ringing in our department, and I answered it saying, "This is Terry," and I see his face go, but I'll give the guy credit. He just sort of hovered over there waiting until I got off the phone. And, he didn't like stand there staring at me or anything. And afterwards, after I got off the phone, he came over and he said, "Are you aware of the memo that went out about how everybody should be answering the phone, with their last name?" So again, I gave him credit for not just jumping all over me. He was asking good questions.
Yeah.
And I said, yes. And then he goes, "Why didn't you do that?" And I said, "Well, because my last name is Sears. And when people call and I answer that way, they think they've called the store at the other end of the mall." And he went, "Excellent point. Carry on." The only person in the store who had permission to not use my last name. So
Luckily, we had a thing. They wanted us to be friendlier to the passengers. So they decided being friendlier meant using our first names. And that sure made it a lot easier for me.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody confused it, thank goodness, with the Lanier Corporation that made copiers and Xerox machines and things like that.
Yeah.
So, but I actually applied for a job at Lanier Corporation once.
Oh, wow. No, you would have been Lanier working for Lanier.
Yeah, that would have been confusing. They'd say, "Oh, are you related?" And of course, I'm not related to them.
Yeah, I got that question a lot. Weirdly enough, people they'd say, ask me if I was related to the Sears people. And of course, I would always say no, because I'm not. And then they'd say, "Well, are you related to J.C. Penney?"
Oh, yeah, sure.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Like, nope. But
People ask dumb questions.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, and then sometimes you can, once you've worked with the public enough, you can usually kind of gauge those people that have, you can tell the ones who have the stick up their butt versus the ones that you can make a joke with and they'll get it.
Exactly.
And so some of the people, when they'd ask me if I was related to Sears, I would say, yes, I'm just spying on the competition.
Ah, that was a good answer.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then they'd laugh and go away, and it all was fine. But yeah, so I also heard like 8,000 jokes that were all the same, and I usually heard them about once a day. So, but I always let everybody think that they were incredibly clever, and I'd never heard.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you can't let them know you've heard that 1,000 times every week.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. You're just like, "Oh, that's funny." Yeah. Oh, once in a blue moon, somebody would say, "I bet you've heard that a whole bunch." I'm like, "Yeah, I've heard it before."
Uh-huh.
Just a few times.
Just a couple. And then there's people like Carrie, whose last name is spelled such that she probably has to spell it to everyone.
I do. And to me, it seems like it's very clear. I mean, it's not confusing. It doesn't have any weird letters or weird vowel combinations or anything like that. But everybody's like, "How do you pronounce that?" And maybe it's just like you don't know which syllable to put the accent on or something, but it seems pretty straightforward to me. I sometimes wish that I took my husband's name when I got married, because his is Bennington, which is much easier. But I didn't. I just kept my own name and I live with it. But
Well,
my daughter will be joining us tomorrow, probably part of the time. She's got a soccer game she has to go to for her son. But her last name is Valencia. It's Patty Valencia. You'll see her. Anyway, she loves that last name because our last name is a very long German name, Dockstader. And Valencia is beautiful, and everybody knows how to pronounce the oranges.
yes.
I was thinking of the Spanish city, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the Spanish city. She wants to go to Spain next year. And since I work for the airline, we can go standby free.
Oh, nice.
If I don't mind flying to the state she lives in. And
Mm-hmm.
then we all leave from there.
My dad used to, he worked for one of the major airlines. So I could still, like, after he retired, even though I wasn't living, like little kid anymore, I was, adult. I still got to fly for places.
Yay.
Except that I didn't get to fly for free. I had to pay. But one
Probably
of the
$30 or $40 though, not what everybody else paid, right?
no, we had to pay for mileage. So it depended on how far I was flying. So so for example, if I wanted to fly from Tampa to Atlanta, that would cost me about $90 round trip. But I could get out to California from Tampa for like $350, $400, something like that. It's still usually cheaper, but over the years, it started out a lot cheaper, and then over the years they kept increasing the prices. And there were a few times where, between the "will I make it on this flight" game, which I'm sure you're familiar with, like sitting in there going, "Am I gonna? Oh my God, there's like 10 empty seats, and I'm 12th on the list. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna make this one." And then it's not fun being in the airport all day long playing that game.
No, and sometimes you'll come back the next day or the next day after that.
Right. Yeah. So sometimes it got to be where, if I wanted to buy a ticket myself, if I did it early enough, it only cost me $50 extra, and it wasn't worth it. $50 in heartache and the am I going to get on this flight?
Yeah.
So I kind of over time and I'm sure that's what the airline was hoping, was that they would start.
Oh, that's absolutely what they're hoping.
Yeah.
And the one I work for now doesn't do their numbers right, so it's really hard to tell. And I just use some miles to buy my ticket to go visit my daughter in a different state.
Mhm.
And the other daughter lives in Washington State. And after I got on the plane, on each of the 4 flights I took, each direction, total round trip, I realized I could have paid nothing and got on. But you never know, because they don't do the numbers right.
Right.
Yeah.
And the other airline used to do the numbers so you could at least have a good chance of knowing what it was.
Right. Well, what I would run into is that you could get online and look, because if you were the employee or the employee's family, you could get on. They had the website, so you could go look and see how many seats got sold and how many were empty, and I'd be like, okay, I'm like, all right, I got to leave for the airport in 2 hours if I'm going to try and make this flight. And you look, and there's like 50 empty seats, and you go, all right, I'm good. And then you get to the airport, and there's like 70 people showed up for the 50 empty seats.
Or worse, another airline's flight canceled, and so they're booking on your airline.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would happen.
I've had that happen so many times.
I slept in the Atlanta airport way more times than I ever wanted to. I get stuck in Atlanta and not be able to get where I was going. And
my friend and I have decided there's one airport we absolutely hate. She flies free on my passes.
Mhm.
And we both absolutely hate that airport. It's the worst one. And to go to my daughter's, that was one reason I considered buying it with the miles, is because if I hadn't, I might have got stuck in that airport, and I just hate it.
What were you going to ask, Carrie?
I was just going to say that, I don't fly a whole lot anymore, but before the pandemic, I can't remember a time when I was on a single plane that had even one empty seat. They were all.
Yeah, well, and it's a combination of more, they started reducing the number of flights. So that would push, if you've got, say, 400 people that want to go anywhere, and you had 4 flights that would seat 200 people apiece, well, that made for a lot of empty seats. So they would cut the number of flights in half. Now you've got, more people, plus the extra employees trying to go anywhere, which would wind up, accounting for some of that. But mostly it was just reducing the number of flights. So then all the flights would get more and more full.
Yeah.
And, you'd wind up with, like I said, you'd wind up with, okay, so that the red eye flight or the first one in the morning, the 5:30, 6 o'clock flight. Nobody likes to get on that one. So if you're trying to fly for free, always aim for that one.
Yeah, the first flight in the morning, if it's early enough, works better than anything.
Usually
People forget.
Sometimes I'd get to, like I'd say, I'd get up, I'd go look at the thing, and be like, okay, I should be able to get there. And then, you know, apparently everybody in town had that same thought that morning. And then you know, you can't get anywhere. And yeah, so it's a weird game to have to play sometimes, and you have to have the you know, basically the intestinal fortitude to put up with it, because you know,
and I know a lot of people that won't even take a chance anymore.
Oh,
and
yeah.
they haven't for about 7 years. They just haven't taken the chance because they know that our airline goofs up the way they put the numbers, for one, and you never know if you can trust them or not. And so it made it harder game to play.
Wow.
Yeah,
And everybody says, oh, you're so lucky you work for an airline. Well, yes and no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it depends on how you look at it. Yeah. So one of
So
the
if
last flights that I took, I think it was the last one that I took on my dad's pass, was I was going to Dublin, Ireland.
Ooh.
So I'm like, okay, that's going to save me a lot of money, you know. So I could either leave, like from that airline, there was only like a couple of places I could go to leave, you know, to get to Dublin from, right? Or to back and forth. One of them was New York. So I looked at all the numbers and I said, okay, New York looks like my best bet. So I flew to New York, and I'm sitting there, and sure enough, I can't get on this flight to Dublin, and there was only like one a day, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna die. So I was going for a convention, so I'm like, well, I have to go now. So I ran like 6 gates down the airport to get on the flight to London, because I'm like, well, at least I'll be across the Atlantic, and I can get I'm a grown up. I can get my ass from London to Dublin. I can do that, you know.
Good.
So I took the flight to London, and then bought a one-way ticket in London to go to Dublin, and they kind of looking at me nuts because, you know, I'm obviously American. Why am I doing this? And I was like, so I explained to them, like, well, okay, yeah, got it. And so then I get to Dublin, and of course my luggage had gone without me, and it was in holding somewhere, and that took like 2 hours for them to find my luggage, because I was several hours behind it. But
At least you got it. At least it didn't get left behind.
Yeah, and you made your conference, I hope.
Yes, I did. I was only a little bit late that first day, so yay. But I was just like, do I want to do this again? That was just not fun, you know.
Oh, my manager, years ago, I told my daughter I'd take her to England for her graduation.
Cool.
And so my manager says, hey, please, can I book your reservation? I'll do the best I can for you. Please, will you let me? I haven't booked anything for over a year for anybody but myself. And I says, yeah. So he got me to Ireland and back from Ireland. So I'd probably get first class. And yes, we did. We both got first class. But then I just had to buy the cheap ticket. It was like $70 each direction from Ireland to England and back. So that wasn't too bad. And it was definitely worth it compared to paying the taxes out of England. Because you pay like $100 to the taxes for London.
Yeah.
To leave Great Britain.
My only problem, of course, was, you know, buying a one-way ticket that day. So, you know, that's like, that part was not as inexpensive as it could have been. But I was like, I don't care. I'm on vacation. I'm going where I want to go. I can deal with it. But yeah, I'll do that again.
Yeah, and you were only going one way. So
yeah.
Bye, ladies.
Good night. Well, it's not night for you, but yes, we will see you
Alright.
tomorrow.
All right, perfect. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
thank you. Bye.
Hello again.
Hello, there's only 4 of us left.
There are only 4 of us.
Yeah.
No, it's hello
Bye.
getting to the cat who's shown up because she's decided that it's time I should feed her. And she's mostly right, but you know, she will live if I don't feed her in 5 minutes from now.
But you can get up and feed her and then come right back.
It's a bit of a longer process because I have 2 cats to feed and then trying to get all their food sorted out and try not to trip up the cats and that sort of thing. So they'll live. This has only got what?
Yeah, it's only got
we're only
about
going
20
to
minutes.
one, so they'll live for 20 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They'll
not going to come.
survive. They
they'll
will
survive.
survive.
They will. She gets hangry. Have you ever seen any of those commercials, like the Snickers commercials where they talk about getting hangry and people do stuff? So
Mhm.
she gets hangry, and then if I'm sitting in the living room, she starts trying to throw things off the end table. One at a time. Until I feed her.
Emmanuel, I wanted to ask you what you do
Yes.
for a living.
Like I said, I work for the federal government.
Oh, you're the one that said that. Okay, I couldn't remember who said that. Thank you. I'm so
Mhm.
glad you do what you do. That's got to be tough though at times.
It can be. It can be challenging, yes. Mhm.
Terry, are you in Florida having, I don't know how much you're open or how much you're not open, but one of the things that I've been seeing here since everybody's starting to open up more is nobody wants to go back to work. And so every place has help wanted signs. Help wanted, help wanted, help wanted, help wanted.
That's a huge problem everywhere, I think.
Yeah.
Everywhere. We have that problem here too, to be honest.
But some friends and I were having that discussion the other day where, some of the places obviously can't get people to come back because, they've moved on, sort of thing. But what we were speculating upon was, okay, so now that all of these people generically, have had to stay home, and in the houses where there's 2 people working and they have kids, they've realized that they weren't really saving any money by having to put their kids in daycare while the second parent was also working.
Yeah.
And that really they have just as much money if they stay home with the kids as parent number 2,
Right.
whoever that is, mom or the dad. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the
Yeah.
other. And so we wondered how many cases of we can't get people to work are really because of that, because they just realize you're not paying me enough to come to work. The places that are like, if they paid more of a living wage, then they would go. But, the places that are paying the absolute minimum wage of $7 an hour, well, that's literally not enough to make them go back to work, because they really, they realize that they're actually maybe have more money if they're staying home instead of paying for childcare. And then they're also not as stressed out.
You would think that maybe they needed something like this to sort of bring that to their attention, because you would think that people could realize that. It's like, look how much you earn, look how much you pay out. Does it really make sense to do that? But
yeah, well, and and I think sometimes people don't sit down and do that. There are some people that don't, because we've had it so ingrained in our heads that if you're going to be a proper adult, you have to have a job.
Yeah.
And so that's what they think. I have to have a job. I'm supposed to work. And then if I'm have children, then and both of us are supposed to be working, and then we put the kids in daycare, and nobody stops to say, wait a second, did the numbers work out? Because so many people also have that companion mindset where, oh, you're not working outside the house? You lazy shit. What's wrong with you? Because I know people that think that way, that if you aren't working in a job that you get up and go to every day, then there's something wrong with you and you aren't lazy. And that's just not true either, but
it's not true.
People that have that in their head that it's hard, so you don't, if you've been raised to think that, then you don't necessarily sit down and do the numbers, where there's one of the people at work who, she used to be my manager, now she's like my one-up manager, but her and her husband, when they decided to have kids, they sat down and said, okay, which one of us actually makes more money? Who's the one who's got the potential to make more money in their job? And they decided it was her. A lot of the times it'll be the mom that stays home and raises the kids. Well, in this case, the dad did it because she had the potential to make more money at her job than he did at his, and they just decided that that was going to be easier for them if they did that. Now their kids are grown up, and so he's got a part-time job someplace just so he can not be stuck at home all day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a family during the when COVID started, basically they both lost their jobs, but she was more employable than he was, and they have 2 young children, and so she wound up going back to work, and he stays home with the kids. So.
Right. So if that's one of the cases of what we were speculating about, where 2 people were working and now only one of them is, but maybe they don't. Maybe the dad wants to stay home and not go to work. And
yeah, it just struck me as strange because there were so many people crying about, oh my God, I lost my job, I'm going to lose my house, I can't find work anywhere, and I've got laid off. And you'd think that most of those people would be eager to come back, but that appears not to be the case because everybody is looking for workers now, and they're not finding them, I guess.
I think that if they actually would pay more, they'd find more people. Seriously.
I agree.
That's what I wanted to say to my son-in-law. They own a market, and he's so mad that people are too lazy to work. Well, sometimes it's not lazy, it's economics. They can't afford to work.
Exactly.
Well, they're saying right now that there's going to be an economic crisis where prices are going up. So I think that's going to affect it for sure.
Years ago, I worked as a contract computer programmer. So that meant that I would just I'd go work over here for 6 months and put your fire out. And then I'd go over there and work for 6 months and put your fire out. And then, so it was fun while I did it.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But I had a house, not the one I'm in right now, but I had a different one. And so the place that wanted me to come work for them was far enough away from where I lived that I couldn't drive back and forth, and I wasn't going to sell my house for a 6-month job, so I was looking at, okay, what's it going to cost me to live there for 6 months, and just get some tiny little apartment and whatnot. And it turned out that it was literally going to cost me money if I took that job, because in order to maintain my house and then a place to stay near that job, they weren't paying me enough to actually take that job without, and I'm like, okay, you do realize this is a contract, right? So I have to be able to have a home and then still work for you. And, because they were just incensed that they kept saying, nobody wants to work. I'm like, well, it's because you're not paying people enough, like, not only that, the people in the time, were used to making pretty much double what these people were. They were undercut. They were offering people half of what they were normally you could get.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, yeah, that's why nobody wants to work for you. You're not paying people enough. It's not got anything to do with lazy. It's got to do with numbers. And the whole, I can go work for 12 other people and make twice what you want me to, what you want to pay me. Why would I work for you? And really, that's kind of what we're staring at now. It's sort of, either it's, it costs me money to go work for you, or I can go work for these people over here and make twice what I was working for you. Why would I work for you if you're only going to pay me half what these other guys are?
I think it's really hard on small businesses, though, because a lot of small businesses can't afford to pay people very much. And so they wind up, with no workers because they can't compete with the big corporations who could pay people more but don't want to. There's that, it's like, can you pay more or do you just not want to?
And I was reading an article along those lines too, so just lots of curiosity on my part, where some people were saying, well, if you have to underpay people in order to keep your business going, maybe you should rethink having that business. And it was like, well, that's a thought. If your ability to make money requires other people to be, not paid basically, or not paid well enough. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was just it wasn't an article that had, solutions. It was just things to think about.
Welcome, Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That was an interesting conversation I locked in on too. Well, no, I work for a university and we pay people very badly.
Yeah.
And it's hard to compete with the industry because I need to
Yes.
hire scientists. So, and the only reason I took the job there when I took it was because we get 75% off when our kids go to school.
Wow.
So my kid graduated with no debt.
That was nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
that was nice.
fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But she graduated, so now I want to work in industry and go back to making 4 times what I was making before.
Yeah, I worked before I retired, I worked for a college, and I knew people who left for higher paying jobs. And, some of them did really well, and some of them wound up working for a corporation for 6 months and then getting laid off or fired or whatever. So, there's pros and cons, but definitely schools, universities, things like that tend to be underpaid.
Oh, they do. We actually had to go to a supervisor training, and the only other scientist in there with me was a guy from optics, and the lady that was teaching it was from HR, and she said, "Oh yes, I interviewed this guy and he did really well, but then he said the only reason he wanted to work for the university was because he wanted to put his 2 sons through school at the bargain basement price that we get."
Yeah.
And so of course I didn't hire him. And the guy from optics and I said, "That's perfectly okay with us. We'll take the scientists for as long as they want to put their kids through school." It's one of our only competitive things we have to offer.
Yeah. Where are you from, Sarah?
Arizona.
Oh, really? Where?
Tucson.
Oh, you're south of me. I'm in Prescott.
Oh, so you're not hot.
No,
Lucky you.
in fact, today we were quite cold.
Well, it was about 92 here today. So it's not actually Arizona hot yet.
We got a cold front come through, and I think we topped off at less than 70 today, 65 or something like that.
Oh, nice.
Cold.
Oh,
Well, that's not cold. Coming from Wisconsin, that would be, t-shirt weather. But for me, it's a little chilly.
Oh, that does sound pleasant. So did I miss all the good stuff?
It was mostly chat like we're doing now, just kind of
Okay.
exchanging stories and
I was
ideas.
having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, it happens.
It kept wanting to send me to the 2020 conference.
Uh-oh, that's not fun.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, it was fun, but that's already been and gone.
Yes.
So then I thought, well, maybe it's a quantum thing and I'm both places.
You're going to be time traveling.
Yes,
Well,
I
no,
The last year's
like-
conference.
I read the coolest article the other day and I so wanted to come to one of the chats and tell people about it. Do you know about the NIST, National Institute for Standards and Technology?
Not much.
All right, well, most of us that are in science think we're pretty smart. And these are the people that are way smarter than we are. And they made a quantum drum and they actually got it to play music.
Really?
Yes.
I think I heard about that.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's 42 millimeters across, 2 sets of drums. And they actually played a Lindy Hop on it.
Wow.
Hi, Nancy. I thought you went to bed.
We have some new people coming in all of a sudden. It's like we're getting ready to close down here almost. And now
Well,
people are arriving.
I was, but I am having trouble unwinding. I had somebody with a problem, but
Oh,
it's
that was
off.
me.
Oh, that was you?
Yeah,
Sarah?
Nancy's the one that had to put up with my Ludditeness. And I'm
Hey,
actually
Beth,
not a Luddite.
I'm just glad it worked. Okay.
No, I so appreciate you. Thank you so much. because there's just not a whole lot of like-minded people that like these books as much as I do. And I was really looking forward to this.
So is this your first time?
I did it last year, but it was I had to go into work because we had a outbreak of Newcastle virus, so I missed a lot of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, actually, I'm supposed to be sleeping right now, but I was going, okay, I can't go to sleep if Sarah's all I've got to figure out what's wrong with her.
Oh, Lord knows what's wrong with me is the list is long and distinguished.
How did you find that out, Nancy? I didn't see anything in the help.
Well, it was
Facebook or
no, it was through the email.
oh,
And I mean, she did it through the Eventbrite email, and of course that ties to many of ours. And I said, okay, first I have to make sure, are you registered? Yes. Okay, here's my registration number. Okay, and then I sent Terry, I sent you a text that you can now ignore.
Oh, okay.
Well,
he's happy about that.
Huh? Oh yeah, because Terry's the one that has all of our registration, so she knows who registered and who. And then it was good that you sent me the link so that I could check it.
Did you
and
get
then once
scratched?
Yes.
Oh no. Oh.
she's
Yes,
a
Oh, yeah.
Is that the hangry? The hangry coming out?
No, that was a chunky boy.
Ah.
He has also decided that I should be feeding him.
Hey, you dog.
Ah, there's Sarah.
Wait, where'd I go?
Oh, you're
Here it
here.
is.
We see
Okay.
you. So it was long and involved to get you actually logged into the session, huh?
It did take a little bit of work, but I'm glad. Thank you. Nancy was super helpful.
Oh, thank you.
Somebody should give her a lot of points on her token.
Well, you're the one I was nice to today. Everybody else I've been mean to.
Have you? Oh, well, good. I mean, good for me.
Well, yeah.
We need,
I try to be nice all the time, but I don't always make it.
Oh, I don't even try.
Well, I have to with my line of work.
See, I mostly work. Well, okay, yeah, a bunch of people work for me, but right now, because we all have to stay in our offices, and so I'm like managing by email. Do you guys need anything? Are you actually getting your stuff done? Great, thanks.
Easiest job now, huh?
Most of them are good kids.
I'm waiting for my dog to get back up in the bed so that I can go to sleep.
Mm.
Asen! Silly dog.
You named your dog Asen? That's cool.
Yeah. Well, there's a story behind it. Okay. I was there when Asen was born, and he was the first of a litter of 4 pups. And this was about, let's see, Wynn came out in July, and Asen was born that November. Okay. And when he was born, he was a light golden color with a little bit of coloring over his eyes, patches. And when I looked at him, I said, no, that's Asen. And my nephews all agreed, yep, that's Asen. Well, as he got older, he turned white. And
you changed his name to Kokaiji?
No, he is definitely an Asen. I mean, Terry can tell you, she has seen him in all of our video chats that we were doing and getting things together. And I mean, he does act like a high and mighty prince. Come here, boy. Come here. Hey, you. Come here.
But Asen
Where's
is
your phone?
humble. He's the most humble person people know. So High and Mighty Prince is not quite a fit.
Yeah, he is kind of a high and mighty prince, though. He learns to become humble, but he is kind of a, come here, baby. Come here. Let Sarah see you. Okay.
Oh, a terrier.
He's a terrier chihuahua. Part
Lots of-
terrier.
Lots of chutzpah, huh?
Oh, precious.
And part Sitsu.
And oh,
You should remove your background so we can see him better.
The virtual, he keeps fading in and out.
Yeah,
Well-
that's why.
Okay, there he is. Hey, you, dog.
Oh, come on over here.
Let's be on camera. Only when he knows somebody.
Mason,
Asen, Terry's calling you.
Mason.
He's coming.
He's like, what? I hear
Hey,
people.
Terry's here. Terry's here.
Mason. He's
Say hi.
waiting. He's like, no, I'm all tuckered out now. I'm gonna sit down.
Yeah. Oh, well, some other time.
So
Well, he's got his-
Sarah, what do you do? Where are you from?
I'm from Tucson, and I am I was a scientist, but now I'm in management and I do compliance,
Okay.
which just makes everybody not like me.
Yeah.
What kind of
What-
scientist?
Molecular microbiologist.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
Well, and a biochemist. Yeah. So
Cool.
yes, actually, I like what I do.
That's
Oh.
important.
Before that, I was a paramedic for 16 years.
Wow.
Yes, I was the most overeducated paramedic in Arizona, but I really liked it because I worked on a helicopter and I miss it.
That
miss-
sounds like an awesome job.
Yeah,
Oh, that
that
was a
sounds
great
fun,
job.
actually.
Pardon?
Pretty cool. That sounds like a fun job on a helicopter.
Oh, it was. It was the bomb diggity. It really was. I loved it, but they medically retired me because that's why I talk like I smoked for 40 years, although I would have had to start when I was a kid. But I had a tumor in my throat, so my vocal cords are paralyzed.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So, well,
Don't smoke anymore, I guess.
I never did.
You never did. Wow.
No, it's
But
not
you
a,
still-
I don't have throat cancer. It was a tumor that is the F2 generational result of some drugs they gave my grandmother.
oh, wow.
Wow.
Hence the degree in biochemistry. Really wanted to find out what was the matter with myself.
Yeah.
Well, that's one way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's so
Yeah.
bizarre thinking that, that drugs that your grandparents took could, affect you, That's just such an unusual sort of.
Well, she had something very specific. She had 8 miscarriages, and they treated her with some very specific drugs that we were able to track backwards. And it turns out that a large number of people that have the same subset of tumors that I do, they had a grandmother that was treated with those drugs.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. That's intense.
I don't think they understood those things in the 50s.
No,
No.
obviously.
F2 results of drugs. So,
They understood the benefits, but not the long-term effects of a lot of those things.
Right.
oh,
I was
this is
trying to think, what's that one that they used to give some of the
thalidomide.
Thimerus?
Thalidomide.
Thalidomide. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah,
That was
a lot of women
a lot
were
of people
treated
do.
with, yeah.
But those are people that had shortened limbs from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also get that from Tetralogy of Phallo. But I'm gonna be quiet now because I'm gonna start talking about stuff nobody cares about.
We're asking questions. Come on.
Scary stuff anyway.
Well, yeah. But then it would, just think of it in terms of the Atlanteans. They would be interested in things like that, especially if they could convert it for plants.
Yeah,
Oh.
I'm just, they probably would. And like I was telling the other ladies that one of the reasons I was so excited to be in one of the chat rooms tonight was I had read a really interesting article about the National Institute of Standards and Technology, which are where the really super smart scientists go to work, and get paid a lot more than me. Yeah, but they have to live in Maine, so I guess they get good lobster, but it's cold all the time.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I have
It's pretty warm in the summertime in Maine.
I have a client that that's one of their favorite places. And the first time they went up there, it was really kind of funny. The young man went with his family, and his mom sent me a picture in a text message on Halloween. And they're in front of this house. Guess whose house we're in front of?
Stephen King's.
Yep.
I was gonna say that, Stephen King.
Oh man, I on one hand I kind of understand the fascination of finding where some famous person lives, kind of oh, you want to see it kind of thing. But then on the other hand, it's like, how weird must that be that Stephen King has weird people show up in front of his house all the damn time?
Yeah,
Exactly.
And what was really funny about it is they had a really bad storm, and a lot of power had been knocked out, so his house didn't have any power, and he wasn't home. He had a gate all the way around his house, and they just got a picture in front of the gate, and so that they could get the house in the background. And of course, she sends it to me because she knew I was a Stephen King fan. Because guess whose house this is? Stephen King. Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, he lives half the year in Sarasota now. So we keep trying to convince him he needs to come to one of our conventions here. It's like,
yeah.
We'll even promise not to tell anyone you're coming, because that way a whole bunch of people won't show up, that
Just to see him, yeah.
Yeah, it'll just be the people who normally show up at the convention, and then there's Stephen King. So we're still working on him because Sarasota is only like 2 hours down the road.
So what do you ladies do?
Conventions do you work for, Terry?
How many conventions do I work for? Well, I normally work Necronomicon, which is the local science fiction convention here. And then now I'm doing this one. And then it just all depends on what mood I'm in as to whether or not I volunteer for other ones. Over the time, I've probably worked on, 20 different conventions, easy,
Wow.
Wow.
But I've also been going to conventions since, I'm trying to remember when my first one was. 85? Yeah, 85.
I have never gone to a non-work related convention. I wanted to go to Dragon Con the year that Vera was there, but I couldn't pull it off.
Yeah, that was one of the years I did not work at Dragon Con. I was like, I'm going to be a fan this time and not work.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, you were going to ask something? I didn't hear you.
Oh, I was just asking what you ladies did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for a profession, I always tell people I'm a computer nerd at a bank. So all those memes you see on Facebook where people are just like, describe what you do very badly. I love those. Those are fun. Trying to guess what people do and how they would describe their jobs. And I just say, I control your money.
No, a lot of people with compliance that do compliance do financial as well.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
I always knew I'd be bad at that, so I just never, I never tried to get that kind of job.
And as far as me, I work for a nonprofit agency and I work with individuals who have developmental disabilities.
Oh, wow. You must have the patience of a saint.
Been sent to a
Sometimes
job, for sure.
COVID has kind of taken away my patience.
Oh, yeah, that must be really hard on the families.
Well, it's really bad because, we had some that were self-isolating, so we couldn't see them. So my only contact was either by the phone or if they knew how to use FaceTime or Facebook Messenger video, and some of them did, some of them didn't. So those were just phone calls, making sure they're okay. And then finally, getting to see people. I had one lady that I had worked with for 10 years. Okay. And she was self-isolating. I was seeing her once a month instead of every week.
Yeah.
And the other weeks I was calling her on the phone. Now, this is also a lady that even now I talk to probably every single day. She calls me and it will be anything from something really important to, you'll never guess where the cat is. Because she has a cat. And
Yeah.
fortunately for her, when her cat died, we had to put her to sleep. I was with her when we put her to sleep, and it wasn't, it was sad, kind of. It wasn't 5 minutes later, she says, Nancy, can I get another? And I said, yes, but let's wait about a month before we get another cat. Just, okay. Because I wanted her to grieve,
Yeah.
Part of her disability was, she lives in the moment. But then she'll remember something from 6 months to a year ago. Well, you said that. Well, yeah, but that was a year ago. It's not the same anymore. Oh, are you sure? Yes. And we were able to find her a new companion before everything was shut down.
Thank goodness.
I don't know what she would have done without her new companion. But now you're not going to believe what, and then they didn't have a birth date, but we knew that the cat was 6 months old when she adopted her. And I said, okay, well, then we know the cat was born sometime in June. Pick a day. And what does she do? She goes, well, are any of your nephews born in June? I said, well, yeah, Zach has a birthday in June. What's his birthday? June the 7th. Okay, we'll make Cupcake's birthday June the 7th. And why? Because it's Zach's birthday. So, okay. I said, I don't need to remember what to do.
Yeah.
And like the guy today, I had to work a couple hours today and we made chicken and dumplings. They were good too.
Sounds good.
But it all depends on the people. Most of them are really nice. Some are very demanding. But I like what I do. I like helping people.
It's good to love what you do. I loved my job for I never really stayed in a job that I didn't enjoy. And I can really only remember one job that I didn't enjoy. Some of them were just like, this is an okay job. But if I was in a job that I didn't like, I didn't stay in it. And I was lucky enough to really like most of the jobs that I had.
Well, prior to working with the nonprofit, I worked in a bank and did first installment loans and then real estate underwriting. And this is when we hand type documents.
Oh, yay.
Oh yeah. You did not make on the typewriter. It wasn't on a computer. It was a typewriter.
Yeah.
And whiteout was not allowed. And especially on deeds and
Legal
so forth.
documents, right?
And then I was in personal banking and I was beginning to get burned out when the bank started a drive more towards sales than service. And I was all about service.
Yeah.
You know, I had, you know, the little old ladies that, you know, came in when they're, you know, they got their social security. Honey, can you help me check my balance and get my checkbook up to date? My husband used to do this and I just don't quite know how to do it. Yes, ma'am. Or the blind couple that would come in and I'd have to, you know, draw cash and put it in their envelopes that had Braille on them so they could pay their bills. Those were the things I liked to do. I could do the sales, but I didn't enjoy it. And now I do something I enjoy most of the time. The problems I have are with the families sometimes.
Well, ladies, I'm gonna bid you good night.
I think
I'm
we're-
falling
I think
asleep.
we're at the end of our session here. In fact, we're a little bit beyond the end of our session, but it was good
Mhm.
to have a chance to talk to everybody. Nice to meet
You, Sarah, and everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Nancy.
Probably
We'll see some people back here tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got to get up early because I'm on first.
Yeah, you're on first.
Yep.
You are-
I'm
you
hoping
are
that the
mistress of
work thing will
ceremonies.
be done by the time the opening ceremonies start, but if you don't see me, that's because I'm still working.
That's okay. We know you got to work.
Yep.
All right. Well, see you guys tomorrow.
Lovely chatting with everybody. Have a
Lovely
great
chatting with
night.
everybody. Yep.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Night, everyone.